So you have to be very measured, and you have to test. You got to test your offer. What's my offer going to be? Offer is probably the biggest driving force to results.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the industry, and we take you to the front lines, to those that are driving those changes. As always, I'm Donnie, Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, as well as that has Triangle Pest and Triangle Lawn. I am mixing my words this morning. With me, as always, is the giant of the industry, Mr. Dan Gordon. And we have even a bigger giant as our guest. So, Dan, why don't you introduce yourself, introduce our sponsors, introduce our topic, and our very, very, very special guest.
Absolutely. And I'm going to read right off the sheet because I got it all right the last time. So it's going to work. So hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Dan Gordon from PCO Bookkeepers and M&A Specialists. We're accountants and brokers to the pest control and lawn care industry. As always, if you like what you hear, rate us, review us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Additionally, and this one, I'll go a little off script, is you may have heard the news that we've expanded the PMP Industry Insider offerings into peer groups in partnership with industry veteran David Billingsley. By the way, that's going really well. We've formed several new groups around it. If you're interested in joining a peer group, go back, listen to episode 136 or visit pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups to learn more. And also, please consider supporting our sponsors. And if you're interested in marketing, I will say rather than digital marketing, more of integrated marketing, because it's much more than digital, call Coalmarch. And to learn more, go to coalmarch.com. And if you're interested in insurance for the pest control industry, it's PestSure, and visit them at pestsure.com. And today we are talking about how to develop a lawn care company with industry icon Joe Kucik. And I've known Joe for a very long time. He is a veteran of the lawn care industry, having founded the software company Trugreen to solve problems in his own lawn care business. And ultimately, Joe sold a stake in Trugreen to private equity, which sold to WorkWave in 2021. And today, Joe is involved in a lawn care company called ExperiGreen. So with that, I say, welcome, Joe. How did I do?
You. You did great. I feel like I should be doing a car sales video or something after all this commercial.
But wait, there's more.
No, wait, there's more.
Well, here's what I would say. First of all, Joe, it is fantastic to have you on the podcast. I have, just for our listeners, I've been friends with Joe for many, many years. And if you know Joe, you are a friend of Joe's. I don't know that I've met anyone that has not been a friend of Joe's. And we all have a Joe story. I certainly have many of them, some of which involve jet skis, some of which involve airplanes, but most involve business and just having a great old time. And so I will tell you, Joe is probably one of the best business guys I've ever met. I learned a lot from him as I was coming up through the industry. And, the one thing I much respect about Joe is that it's just his really focus on making sure people are taken care of. I learned a lot from him about that. And so, Joe, with that being said, great to have you here. Welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you.
Well, thank you. I feel like I also owe you guys money for all these accolades. You've been very kind.
Yes, we'll send you a bill later.
Oh,
but the one thing that little off script is Joe's customer base has always been his family, and you could. That's always been awesome. And, he treats them like family, and he's always willing to help. So anyway, we appreciate that. So Donnie, you want to start with the first question, or you want me?
Yeah, no, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing now. For me, I think everyone is obviously aware, Joe, you have done, started, built, sold several lawn care companies. So obviously, you know how this industry works. You know how to build a lawn care company. But you also, you had a really big impact with many, many folks in the industry through Trugreen. I think a lot of folks are obviously aware that you moved on from your green, and I think most know that you're still involved in the lawn care industry. Can you just walk, or at least bring us up to speed? What have you been up to since those days? Okay, so Real Green is kind of, I don't want to say it's in the rearview mirror, because it's not, but I would say that's probably not your sole focus now. So what have you been up to? Are you spending all your days on a golf course? And I'm laughing because I say that because I know that you're not. But just kind of walk us through like what you've been up to and kind of where you're going.
Well, the question I keep asking myself is how I had time to work before, because I seem to stay so busy. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold too, so
Yep.
I'll have to excuse me for a cough here and there. About 6 years ago, I started a company with some friends called ExperiGreen, a lawn care company. It was around the time that Trugreen bought Scott's Lawn Service, and several of the Scott's Lawn Service guys that were forced to sell to Trugreen via their franchise agreement, they were forced to sell, wanted to start another lawn care company. They came to me asking for some investment, asking for some advice. And I said, I'd love to be involved. So I invested a little bit of money into it and was sitting on the board with them. Unfortunately, my partner, Mike Cannon, got very ill and ended up passing away shortly after we started the company. So my involvement ratcheted up significantly at that point. We're trying to grow it all organically. And when you're trying to grow 7 locations organically, it gets very, very expensive. And that's where you find out how much it costs to market and how much it costs to pick up a new customer. And after a few years of pain there, we decided to start doing some acquisitions. My partners initially were against spending the money on acquisitions, but as I show them later, doing an acquisition in a greenfield market is the quickest, best way to open a new market. And so we started doing some acquisitions. About a year ago, last August, Huron Capital out of Detroit bought a major portion of our stock and became a major investor in the company. And we really ramped up the acquisitions. Today we have, as of next week, we'll have about 100,000 customers, and we'll be in 16 different markets. The speed at which things took off after we got the investment from the private equity was absolutely amazing. So I spent some time on that. I also opened up some health spas with my brother, and we're starting to franchise that as well. And been involved in a number of different businesses. I kind of hate having money in the stock market. So I've been investing in a lot of different companies.
As spoken as a true entrepreneur.
That's right. You can lose it just as quickly as they can. At least you'll know where it's going.
Well, Joe, this kind of has to be kind of full circle for you, right? Because you didn't start in software, right? You started treating lawns. I mean, that's kind of how you got started in career. Now you're kind of back at it. I mean, how does that feel?
Well, I never really got out of lawn care, but I'm in it in the biggest way I've ever been involved as far as owning a lawn care company today. You know the story. My dad started a lawn care company. He was a police officer in Detroit and started a lawn care company on the side back in 1964, and he retired in 72. When I was in college, 74 through 78, I ran his business, and I was actually going to go off to dental school. And he said to me, "Why don't you just buy the business from me? You're doing well." And I looked at it, and I looked at my friends that were dentists, and I said, I think I could do financially better being in business than being a dentist. So I opted out of dentistry and bought the business. It was a small business at the time. Ran that for a number of years and started Real Green Software. Started writing software in 1984. And we sold 5 years ago to private equity, sold a portion of the company as private equity. And as I think Dan said earlier, then 2 years ago, we sold half of our stock to WorkWave. And now we're part of the WorkWave family as well. Hold on one second. I just got to clear my throat here for a second. I want to put you on mute.
That's quite all right. It's interesting. I've been with Joe. I've known Joe for a number of years, and you're right. I mean, I remember we would be talking. I was involved, Joe, with software. I worked with Trugreen a number of years, and specifically, if you meet Joe, you're going to know he's a sales guy first and foremost, through and through. That is absolutely a key skill that he has. And so we connected via marketing, because I wouldn't say I'm nowhere near as a sales guy that Joe is, but I certainly enjoy marketing. Bringing it back around, like what, now that that's a impressive lawn care company, 100,000 customers. What is your outlook for the lawn care industry these days? I mean, now that you're kind of back in it and you're very involved in it, do you see things slowing down? Do you see a recession coming? Like what do you think? What do you think the lawn care industry, where do you think it's at? And more importantly, where do you think it's going?
Well, first I'll address that salesman comment. People have said that about me, that I'm a great salesperson, but it's, when you have products like we had at Real Green, when you believe in what you're doing, it's a mission of love. It's you get on your soapbox and you start preaching to people about what you can do and how you can help them grow their business and things of that nature. So I don't know that I have innate sales skills, but I've always had tools that I really believed in my heart that could help people. And that made it easy for me to sell software for those years. I mean, rarely would I even show the software when I did a demo. All I would do is talk about what we're going to do to grow your business and how we can help you and streamline things and lower your cost per sale, your cost per lead, and so on and so forth. But getting to your question, though, I think we're going to have a resurgence in the industry. As you know, year and a half ago, private equity took an interest in lawn care, similar to the way they did with pest control 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And now lawn care companies are a very hot commodity, and there's a lot of owners that are getting to that age of retirement. So there's been a lot of businesses that have been purchased in the last year and a half, a lot of nice sized businesses. And I think you're going to see what happened when Scott's was purchased by Trugreen. A lot of the people that worked for Scott's, like the franchisees that I work with at ExperiGreen, will start new businesses. And there'll be this, like after a forest fire, you see all that green growth come up afterwards. I think you'll see a lot of new growth come up in the industry. It's harder today to grow a business than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You guys went with me on my tour, Life After the Yellow Pages, when I did those marketing tours around the country. And so, for years, we depended on the Yellow Pages. Just put a big ad and be on page one and just stand by your phone and answer the phone, and you're gonna make sales. Well, we know what happened to that, and digital marketing has taken over. And so it's more expensive to grow a business now. You have to be more sophisticated to grow a business now. And there's still tools, and it can still be done, but it takes more work. I started a little business in Tulsa for my nephew a year ago, and we've got, I think, last count 258 customers. But he's done it all just knocking doors, clover leafing, word of mouth, and so forth. And he's got a nice little business. He'll do maybe 160,000 this year or something. So a guy can start a business if he's willing to go out and beat the streets and work at it. But it is more expensive, and digital marketing, is definitely the mainstay for all businesses today. But it can be very expensive, and depending on how fast you want to grow your business, you can't put all your eggs in digital marketing, in my opinion. Things like direct mail, targeted direct mail, very targeted direct mail, because direct mail can be a very expensive lead source as well. But targeted direct mail to, past customers, past estimates, neighbors of existing customers, things of that nature, can be effective. Not cheap, but effective. And one of the things that I'm a big believer in is door-to-door sales still. It's the hardest thing to do. It's the most difficult thing to do. Hiring a team to go out and do it, keep that team on board, keep that team disciplined and focused. It is very difficult. But it's like a faucet. You can turn it on and you can turn it off. Hire 10 salespeople, you're going to make, X sales. Hire 20 salespeople, you're going to make 2X sales. So it's something that you can ratchet up or ratchet down, as depending on the time of year and the success the team is having and so forth. I don't think, the economy has never had a huge impact on the lawn care industry. We've been pretty resistant to the economy. People who are working and have jobs, the type of people that buy our services normally are still working. They might have to cut out a vacation or a new car purchase for a little while or something, but they're gonna keep working. And I think in a lot of cases, people spend more money on their home when they don't take a vacation because they're around, and they take a stronger interest in their property. The only caveat I would say to that was the COVID years. Um, the industry saw a big explosion in sales during that 2 year period of COVID. Whether it was the money that was being spread around by the government, or that they were like a recession, they were forced to be home, and they took a bigger interest in their home and their property. I don't really have the answer to that, but we did see a big explosion. So this year, sales have slowed down, and owners kind of took the COVID years, those 2 COVID years, as the new norm, but it wasn't the new norm. It was an exception. And so a lot of people, that I've talked to this year are disappointed. Oh, we're only going to be up 10%. We're only going to be up 9%. Well, that's probably the norm. What we saw when we were growing 20% and 25% was unusual. It was obviously COVID was a horrible thing, but for our businesses, that was a boon. And so I think you're seeing a lot of the larger businesses being purchased, like ExperiGreen was, by private equity. And I think you're going to see a consolidation of, there's probably 6 or 7 private equity firms that have made substantial investments in the industry. There's a few more that have bought a company, but substantial investments. There's probably 5, 6 private equities. And I think you'll see a consolidation among those in the years to come, to build a company that rivals a Trugreen. Probably 3 to 5 years down the road, I think you'll start seeing some of that consolidation. But no, I think things are going to go well. I think the industry is going to continue to grow. But if you're getting into the business, you're going to have to be more sophisticated. People using index cards and thinking that they can just sit at home and their business is going to grow. They're going to be sadly mistaken.
Hey, Joe, I've done a lot with pest, and years ago, the same valuations for pest and lawn, they dollar for dollar or whatnot. And you had, Terminex and Orkin or Rollins who were buying them up. And then you had, Rentokil come over from Europe and Anticimex, and they drove up prices. And then private equity has gotten in and driven it up. I see the same thing happening in lawn care, and I think it's terrific for lawn care operators, because we've seen probably the valuations double over the past year or two. But here's the question that I have. I don't see Trugreen making big moves. What do you think their strategy is? Are they waiting on the sideline for these guys to come in and mess it up, or sell to them? Or what do you think? What's going on there?
Well, Trugreen, Jerry Solon, they're very disciplined.
Yeah.
And they've set the bar where the bar is, and they're not going to exceed that bar. And I think if you talk to Jerry or somebody from Trugreen, you would find out that they're kind of amazed or shocked at what lawn care companies are selling for, because for the past 40 years, they've been able to buy companies for 8 cents or 80 cents on the dollar, or dollar for dollar. And now companies are selling for, it depends on the size of the company, but a really large company that could be a platform could sell for 2x or better. A large business that could be a platform, add-ons or bolt-ons are not going to sell for that kind of price. But no, I think they've set the bar. They've done their analytics, and they say this is what we can afford to spend. Their cancel rate is higher than most independents. And that's going to come with any large organization. The larger the organization, the more difficult it is to hold on to customers. So when they look at their customer lifespan, it might, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, I don't know what their cancel rate is per se, but let's say they're canceling 35% of their customers, and an independent is canceling at 18%. Well, you've got a lot shorter lifespan to pay that customer off when you're canceling at 35 basis versus 18. So I think that could be part of the thing. And I'm just surmising. I don't know. I don't have an inside track.
But it's funny, in talking with Jerry, he was always he's amazed at the valuations now, but should he be? Because he's been watching out of his other eye pest for years and years, saying, geez, this is unbelievable. But that's where it is. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see where they go.
But you would think. You would think with Terminix being part of it too. Terminix, they've seen what's happened, and he'll get over the shock, and I would imagine they'll jump back in at some point.
I think they're going to have to, because the reality of it is that marketing costs are going to. I mean, when you look at acquisition via marketing, there's no Kmart special anymore. Like, acquisition costs and marketing are just as expensive as acquiring. They're getting there. I mean, it's not there quite yet. Maybe that's a bit of an over exaggeration, but the fact is that, buying customers at 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar,
that ain't happening.
Those days are over.
Those are gone.
Right. I mean, it's going to have to drive up the acquisition cost, which in that case, if you're looking at it and you can't drive the results of marketing, you're going to have to go to acquiring. Anyway, I'm digressing. So let's bring it back, Joe. So real quick, obviously you came, you're in lawn care, you delved over into technology and software in the lawn care industry. Are you still kind of moonlighting in that area, or did you kind of say, well, my software days are over, I'm going to really focus on growing lawn? And if so, then what do you think in terms of technology in the lawn care industry and kind of where things are going?
Well, moonlighting, I'm not sure if I would call it moonlighting, but
just trying to eke out a living, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to simplify my life, but I'm buying 2 new businesses. My wife says you're the busiest retired guy I know. But the technology, as far as applications go, I don't think we've seen much of a change, since the power spreader became the norm in our industry. I think that's maybe handhelds. Handheld technology was another technology that came on really strong 5 to 10 years ago, and self-service websites, again, 5 to 10 years ago, really took off. And, almost every company now has a self-service website to service their customers. So I don't see a big change in technology on that side. On the digital side, like pay-per-click, I have never had good luck acquiring customers at a reasonable rate using pay-per-click. Organic, yes, we can get customers for a reasonable price, but I think you nailed it when you said the cost of acquisition is gotten so high that now it looks very appetizing to buy companies, whereas before you'd look at it and go, well, if I can pick up a customer for $90, $80 a customer, why am I going to pay $350 for that customer? It made no sense at all. Today things are different. Getting back to that private equity a little bit, private equity has so much dry powder, so much money sitting on the sideline, and they have no trouble raising funds. I mean, if they announce they're going to raise a fund of $50 million, they'll sell it out in a week, 2 weeks. They'll sell out that fund. They've got the money, and I think that's another one of the reasons why lawn care took off, is they needed a place to put money, and sometimes spending it, maybe overspending to get into the industry. But as far as technology goes, I think the stuff that Coalmarch offers, some of the marketing stuff that Real Green offers, the marketing help that Dan does, the peer groups, those are all the kind of things that you need to be doing. If you're not in a peer group, you need to get into a peer group, because I was in a peer group for about 10 years. And I remember one of the gentlemen that joined a very large company from the West Coast joined our peer group and said, we consider lawn care dead. We don't think we can grow lawn care. And 2 years later, he said, lawn care is leading the charge now. Our pest control, our Christmas lighting, all these other things are falling way behind, and lawn care is now our main business. He goes, in 2 years being in this peer group, it has just changed our whole mentality and the way we go about things. So, I'll put a plug in for Dan and the peer groups, because that could be a huge asset in growing your business. Find out what other folks are doing in other markets and so forth. Another thing that I think people should do is be attending the Real Green User Conference in January. It's another phenomenal networking opportunity. And Dan said earlier that I always treated people like family. We tried to build a culture around helping each other. And I can remember a story where a woman and her husband came to their first user conference, and she told her husband, don't be telling anybody anything at this conference about what we're doing. Okay. We don't want to be sharing anything. 2 days in, she came up to me and said, I get it, Joe. This is a cult. This is a family, and everybody is sharing. And I had it all wrong. So attending the user conference, that Real Green User Conference, can be a great benefit. You'll make a lot of good friends, and joining a peer group that Dan has organized would be another great asset.
I remember the guy from out west who said that. He was in our peer group. We had a peer group. Joe was in it, and it was kind of interesting. It was about 2 years, and we reinvigorated him. So that was kind of interesting. But so basically, what we're seeing is that marketing, the easy days are over. You got to really work hard for it. You got to be creative about it. Digital is expensive. Acquisitions a few years ago, why would you do it now? You kind of have to think about it. What you started a lawn care company, or your dad did, but you really took it to the next level. If you, with the knowledge you have today, what do you wish you had way back when? What knowledge do you wish you had way back when you started it?
I wish I would have been a lot more aggressive than I was. Huh. I
come on, Joe, you were pretty aggressive.
Well, this Joe, but the Joe back then didn't could have built a door-to-door team. Could have done more direct mail, could have done those things. And partially that's because I started the software company, and my focus really changed to Real Green systems, and the software was part of the reason that I didn't get more aggressive in lawn care. But if I would have been aggressive in the mid 80s, I could have really done something special with that lawn care business. I feel like, we grew it to about $3.2 million. And I think the year was 2001. We sold it to Scott's. And then we grew two more markets in 2 years. We grew two markets to about $3 million and sold those back to Scott's. And then we grew a market in Lansing and sold that back to Scott's. So we learned how to do it, but I wish I would have done it a little earlier. I wish I would have figured it out a little earlier.
So tell me about, like, Scott's. They were a franchise and whatnot, and they don't exist anymore. That franchise system doesn't exist. If you were going to start your own lawn care company, what did you get from Scott's? And starting it today, do you need that, or do you? Because there are other franchise systems, probably not as famous as Scott's, out there that you can join. But tell us, why you did, why you did Scott's and why not an independent. And I'm sure that there was some reasons, for Real Green and whatnot. But what do you think?
Well, a gentleman by the name of Tony Colatrello took me out to play golf one day. I thought he just wanted to play golf with me, but he basically said to me, "You're either going to sell to me and Scott's, or you're going to be competing against us." And so that got the wheels turning, that maybe we should think about selling, because they were our biggest software customer at the time as well. And,
right. Was Tony from New Jersey, or?
I don't know. He might have been. He might have been.
Or Philadelphia or something.
That's what you call positive negotiation tactic there. I get that.
That's right.
I call it a scare tactic, but that's a nice way to put it, Donnie. So why did I do? So Mark Long, who was negotiating the deal to buy our first business, I had him throw in the Bay City, the Flint, and the Lansing markets as a franchise. I had him throw it into the deal, and so he's thinking Joe's going to grow those and sell them back to us, which is what exactly what happened. But I had come to the realization that having that Scotts Oval was going to reduce our marketing and sales costs significantly. The 7 or 8%, I forget what our franchise fee was dwarfed by the ability to, when they're doing tens and tens of millions of dollars worth of television and radio marketing every year for Scotts products, and everybody knows the Oval. So my thinking was, so what if we have to pay a franchise fee? I didn't really need their help in growing a business. Actually, I think I helped them probably as much or more than they helped me. But just having that logo was going to be a huge benefit to growing the business more cost effectively. And nothing was clear to myself and the gentleman from the Scotts franchises started ExperiGreen with me. When we started marketing under ExperiGreen, nobody knew us. Whether it was direct mail or it was digital, everything fell off the table. And now we're back to a reality check. And so, yeah, a franchise system could be great. I mean, it could be great. You buy whether it's Domino's Pizza or Starbucks or whatever, instant credibility, instant access to customers and so forth. So that was the reason I did it. And I had a gun held to my head.
So,
but you did it was pretty sobering to start ExperiGreen thinking that you would come out with that same credibility. That's very interesting because we hear about other franchises that are not famous, that are just getting out of the box, and you kind of wonder, well, what do they offer?
Well, I think it worked out well for you, Joe, in the end. I mean,
yeah,
in the end, it was absolutely the right call for sure. Even if you had a gun held to your head, I think in the end, it still went pretty well. But we got to wrap it up here. And I want to ask one more question before we finish out here. We have a lot of listeners who are in lawn, and Joe, you are certainly well respected within both industries. I would say pest and lawn, and several others. I mean, you've been very successful throughout your career. You've done some amazing things. And I feel like you're one of these people that you've really stayed grounded as you've done it. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who are, maybe they're 500,000, maybe a little over 1 million, or might be some maybe under 3 million. You've done this several times. I mean, you've kind of figured out the puzzle. What are some top kind of key pieces of advice that you would give these lawn care operators that are, either just starting or kind of midway through their career, and they really want to grow, and they ultimately want to sell? What kind of nugget, maybe 2 or 3 just key things that you feel like they need to do in order to be successful, and try to repeat a little bit of your own success?
Well, that's a great question. So I've always been huge on building a marketing universe, building a database of people that are more likely to purchase from you than people that just happen to live in a neighborhood that you service. So finding out who your customer is, what your customer is like, and buying prospects that are very similar to your customer, and marketing to those people. And you got to market with a scalpel. You can't do a shotgun approach, because you could end up spending $300-400 a customer direct mail if you don't do it with a scalpel. So you have to be very measured, and you have to test. You got to test your offer. What's my offer going to be? Offer is probably the biggest driving force to results. It's that important. If you don't have a strong offer, your results are going to reflect that as well. The other thing that people make a mistake doing is I've always talked about a marketing pyramid, and the top of that pyramid is the person most likely to buy from you. Well, that person is your customer. Cross marketing and upselling your customer, upselling them pest control, upselling them lawn care, upselling them on aerations and seeding and whatever it might be. You have to focus a big percentage of your marketing dollar on your existing customers, because they're going to, for every 10 cents you spend marketing to your customers, you'll probably get $1 back. Whereas if you spend $1 marketing to people that are outside, you might only get $1 back for every dollar you spend, or maybe $2 back for every dollar you spend. So it makes sense. You have a limited budget that you can spend on marketing. So start where you're going to have the best results. And then, then it's going to be people that you've had contact with in the past, whether it's an estimate, a past customer. You need to focus a big percentage of your marketing effort and your marketing dollar on those people that have had some kind of contact with your customer or with your company, excuse me. If they contacted you in the past, then they're likely in the market for those kind of services. They're not a do-it-yourselfer. They're probably someone that's having a company do it for them. And maybe you didn't get it because somebody got there before you. Maybe you didn't get it because your price was a little higher, whatever. Maybe the other company made promises that they didn't keep. But staying in close contact with your cancels, your rejects, and then it's neighbors of your existing customers. Focusing on those neighbors of existing customers. You're probably out of marketing dollars now. By the time you market to your customers, your past leads and cancels and neighbors of your customers, you don't have any money left over to do a shotgun approach in marketing. If you're starting a brand new business, I would get on the phone and call every company in the market and just let them know that, what, I'm thinking about starting a business. And is there any chance you might be interested in selling? You might find a company that has 300 or 400. There's a lot of companies out there that have 200, 300, 400 customers. You might be able to pick one of those up for a reasonable price. You can still get those companies for, 80, 90 cents on a dollar, a smaller company with a couple hundred customers, because a Trugreen is not going to, it's as much effort for them to buy a company with 10,000 customers as it is a company with 300 customers. And more than likely, they're not going to spend the money and the effort to buy those companies. So try and pick up a company if you can. That will just jumpstart the growth of your business. And just think about the little things that you can do. You're not going to win by doing just one thing. You mentioned a puzzle. It is a puzzle. You got to do a little bit of everything. I've always been a big advocate of lawn care signs. I'm a big advocate of clover leafing my customers, knocking on the doors of their neighbors. Big on sending prepay letters to cancels every year. And so you got to come up with a plan that encompasses a lot of different things, and obviously digital too. You need to have a company helping you with digital. But I have not found it myself. Now, Donnie, you're an expert on digital, but I have not found that you can grow a business sufficiently with just doing digital. You still have to do all these other things to grow a business.
Not anymore. Back in the old days, you could, but the costs have escalated so much now that you will absolutely go broke trying to do so. And I 100% agree with you. I mean, I think now the landscape has changed. That it used to be you could be all in on digital, and we did that for many, many years at Triangle, but we're not doing it anymore. I mean, now it's much more of a coordinated effort. It's much more diverse in the channels that we're marketing in. And it's funny to hear you say, call people in your market. That's exactly how Triangle got started. I mean, I bought a company that was called Mike's Pest Control. They had 23 customers and doing $12,000 a year in revenue. That's exactly how I got started. And so that's just great advice. But well, Dan, anything else to question or ask before we close out here?
Nope. I think that's it. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your friendship over the years, and we really enjoyed having you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. You guys are great for the industry. Both of you are great for the industry. You go out and you're teaching people how to be successful, and I don't think many industries share like we do in our industry. And there's a lot of people out there, potential customers, and as long as you run an honest business and you do things the right way, you can have plenty of competition and still be friends with them. So appreciate you guys inviting me.
Yeah.
And hope to see you soon, and maybe at the Real Green Conference or
Absolutely.
I'll be there.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, let's sit
deal.
down and let's have a Coke or something and talk about how I messed this whole webinar.
Not at all. Not at all. It's been great.
Without next time, the last Real Green Conference, I don't want to get too far into this, but Joe had a what do you call that when you lift people up?
Levitate.
Yeah.
Levitate.
Yeah, Joe is levitating on stage, and if you want to see that, hopefully we can get that one again today. But that's a story in itself. So.
Well, there's definitely past Real Green conferences, and there's lots of stories that involve Kool-Aid and boxing matches and casinos.
Right.
We could go on and on. but no, but with that, Joe, thanks again. Great having you on board, man. And it's great to connect with you and just thank you for everything you've done in our industry as well. You've helped a lot of people, and a lot of people respect you because of what you've done. And it's something to be proud of, well beyond money and business success. And so I just want to thank you for that. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners would say the exact same thing. So with that,
Absolutely.
Just a reminder that all the resources and topics that we talked about today are available on the podcast website, pmpindustryinsider.com. Just take a look under show notes. And if you have any complaints, concerns, anything negative in nature, please direct those comments to Dan. And if you like us and you like what you listen to, please direct those comments and reviews to our review websites. And with that, we're going to sign out. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.